This is the most insane place that Putin has ever built, and when you see what it actually is, you will agree with me. This is one of the most secretive locations in all of Russia, and to get here you need a helicopter or a boat because there are no roads leading to it. Once you arrive, however, you will find Putin's secret estate, where he entertains guests and enjoys time away from the pressures of being president. But this isn't any ordinary vacation home. It has a racetrack, go-kart track, a small airport and an entire playground just for his kids. But why is it so secret? Why is it hidden away from the public? And how do we know that it even belongs to Putin? Well, according to the reports, only 30 people are allowed inside at any given time. There are thousands of security guards protecting it at all times, and if you try to enter without permission, well, you will never leave alive. So what makes this place so special? How much is it worth? And most importantly, who is Putin trying to hide it from? Well, let's start out with a brief history of the man himself. Putin has been the president of Russia for 24 years, and during this time he has done his best to maintain a tough and authoritative image, both domestically and internationally. He has been involved in some pretty shady stuff. However, what you might not realize is that Putin is actually a normal person with hobbies, interests, and even children. Yes, believe it or not, Putin has 2 daughters named Maria and Catherine, who were born during his first marriage. Both girls are now around 40 years old, and as far as we know, they lead relatively normal lives out of the public eye. I say this because since his divorce over a decade ago, Putin has been seen in public almost exclusively by himself. He travels alone, dines alone, and appears in public alone. Some speculate that this is part of a larger plan to make himself appear more powerful and untouchable. By showing no weakness, he can maintain the illusion that he is beyond reproach and criticism. After all, the Russian president needs to appear strong and in control at all times, right? Well, that's at least what the public sees. But what does Putin's inner circle know? You see, in the world of Russian politics, there is always speculation surrounding those closest to power. One such topic of curiosity is whether Putin has any secret sons that we don't know about. Now, this isn't just idle gossip or tabloid trash. There is a serious reason behind why people keep asking this question. You see, over the years, there have been rumors and reports of other children who might be Putin's, but are kept secret from the public eye. These alleged secret sons could be living under false identities, hidden away to protect them from the dangers of their father's political enemies and the scrutiny of the media. Now, these claims haven't been proven, but they continue to circulate, leading to questions and speculation among the public. So is there any truth to these rumors? Did Putin really build this estate to hide his secret sons? And what would it take to expose the truth? Well, before we talk about that, we should also mention that Putin hasn't always been in the spotlight. In fact, he lived a relatively normal childhood until he decided to pursue a career in politics. He grew up in Leningrad, which is now known as St. Petersburg, and he studied law at Leningrad State University. After graduating, he joined the government and worked his way up through the ranks. His career took off when he was appointed as the Prime Minister in 1999, and then he became the acting president after Boris Yeltsin resigned. So, in a sense, Putin's rise to power was quite conventional. He didn't come from a wealthy family or have any famous relatives. He simply worked hard and climbed the political ladder. But this brings us back to the question about his secret sons. If Putin really does have other children that we don't know about, it's likely that he did everything in his power to keep them out of the public eye. That means no interviews, no public appearances, and definitely no social media presence. And given Putin's paranoia, it's unlikely that anyone would be willing to come forward and claim to be his son unless they had solid proof. So where does that leave us? Well, the truth is that we may never know for sure whether Putin has any secret sons, but that hasn't stopped people from speculating. Some believe that there are legitimate reasons for keeping such a big part of his personal life private. Others think it's simply because Putin wants to maintain his carefully crafted public image. Whatever the truth may be, it's clear that Putin's private life is just that private. And while the rumors and speculation may never end, we may never get a definitive answer. Now, all of this secrecy is nothing new for someone like Putin. Over the past few decades, he has been involved in a lot of shady stuff. But despite all of this, he still manages to maintain a certain level of power and control. For example, since the year 2000, Putin has gradually increased his control over the media in Russia. He started by closing down several prominent newspapers and then introduced a series of restrictive laws that made it illegal to spread false information or insult the government. These laws have been used to silence journalists and prevent them from reporting on sensitive topics. As a result, many Russian journalists have been forced into exile or have faced criminal charges. This crackdown on press freedom has created an atmosphere of fear and self-censorship among journalists in Russia. Despite this, some journalists continue to speak out and publish important stories. However, they often do so at great personal risk. But why does Putin care so much about controlling the media? Well, one reason is that he wants to maintain his grip on power. By silencing journalists and controlling the flow of information, he can prevent the public from learning about corruption or other abuses of power. This allows him to maintain the support of the Russian people and stay in power for as long as possible. Another reason is that Putin wants to protect his own reputation. He has been involved in a number of scandals and controversies over the years, and he doesn't want the public to know the truth. By controlling the media, he can shape the narrative and prevent journalists from publishing damaging information about him. Finally, Putin's desire to control the media is also a way for him to maintain social stability. He is concerned about the spread of democracy and human rights in Russia, and he fears that a free press will lead to unrest and instability. By silencing journalists and controlling the flow of information, he can maintain social order and prevent any potential uprising. So, as you can see, Putin's motivations for controlling the media are complex and multifaceted, but ultimately, it comes down to his desire to maintain power, protect his reputation, and ensure social stability. But in the process, he has created an atmosphere of fear and censorship that has had a chilling effect on the media landscape in Russia. Now, if you thought that was bad, just wait until you hear about this next part. Unfortunately, the situation has only gotten worse since then. Today, Russia is one of the most dangerous countries in the world for journalists. Many have been forced to flee the country, and those who stay behind live in constant fear of what might happen to them next. Some journalists have been imprisoned for simply doing their job, while others have been tortured or even murdered. This is all because Putin wants to maintain control and silence those who oppose him. It's a sad state of affairs, but it's the reality for many journalists in Russia today. They work in one of the most dangerous professions in the world, and they do it knowing that they could be targeted next. And as long as Putin is in power, things are unlikely to change. He has shown no willingness to compromise and has made it clear that he wants absolute control over the media. This means that journalists in Russia will continue to live in fear and that the free flow of information will remain restricted. It's a sad situation, but it's one that we must be aware of. We need to remember that the media landscape in Russia is far from free, and that journalists there are putting their lives on the line every day. So the next time you pick up a news story from Russia, remember that it may have been shaped by fear and censorship. The brave journalists who brought you that story may have done so at great personal risk. It's important that we remember this and honor their courage. The bottom line is that Putin's paranoia and desire for power knows no bounds. He is willing to do whatever it takes to maintain control, even if it means silencing the press and violating the rights of his own people. We can only hope that one day the situation will improve and that Russia will become a freer and more open country. But until then, we must continue to speak out against Putin and his abuses of power and stand in solidarity with those who are fighting for freedom and democracy in Russia. Thank you for watching, and until next time, stay curious.